How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massive Beer Reviews back with another review. I've been looking forward to this one for quite some time because I've heard good things. But we won't let that kind of cloud our judgment. We'll dive into it with an open mind and an open heart, as everybody should, with anything in life. And that is Revolution Brewing. It's their Bourbon Barrel Aged Straight Jacket Barleywine Ale. I've done a couple of Revolution beers. I did their Anti-Hero, which I believe is their kind of staple kind of IPA. I did their Des Tar Barrel Aged Stout, but this is the one that always kind of piqued my interest. But we don't get this out by me, even though we get drips and drabs of Revolution stuff. But my boy Steven from Connecticut was in my area, and he kind of hand dropped off a bunch of beers, and this is one of them. This is kind of the one I've been chomping at the bit to kind of review. So let's dive into this sucker. What else does it have on here? 15.8%, so it's a session beer. That's always nice to know. And in the back here, in very small font, so I will probably butcher this, so enjoy. It says, our Barleywine Ale features American and Belgian malts, which provide the base of this extraordinary ale. After 12 months in bourbon barrels, the award-winning straight jacket emerges with notes of stone fruit, toasted coconut, molasses, and vanilla coming in waves as you swirl the glass. Enjoy now or store cold. I actually nailed that. Fuck yeah. Sometimes the words aren't hard, believe it or not. See how let's pop this. See what's what. Nice little hiss on that sucker. I really enjoy the kind of black tops on these. It's almost like it's kind of a, to me, a little bit of a nod to like Dogfish Head and their Danger Caps. You get the bright kind of yellow kind of cap on there, and you're like, oh, about to get in something serious. That's kind of how these black tops kind of come off to me. A little bit evil, a little nefarious. Label-wise, it's a straight jacket to a T. They pretty much duplicate a lot of their art designs and just kind of riff off of it quite a bit. It has, the kind of raised fist thing they're known for. It has that kind of rising sun Japanese thing kind of in the background. It's pretty much what they do with a little bit of kind of variance in the art or design. I don't hate it. Let's put it that way. Anyway, what does this look like? That looks like barley wine right there, son. I mean, as far as this goes, I try to hold it up to light and get some light gleaming through it. It is a rich, thick kind of mahogany. It's got a nice subtle heat to it. Something that I think almost any world-class barley wine can't be that clear. It has to have a little bit of murk going on. You're getting that in here, even though it's not straight due to water kind of murk. It looks quite nice. So it's this nice brown leaning towards that mahogany color with a nice kind of khaki colored head to it. We're off to a good start. Let's get a nose. I mean, it has all the makings of a barley wine that I'll enjoy. Listen, I like two kinds of barley wine. I like English barley wine, and I like old barley wine. So you're talking about an English-leaning barley wine. That was bourbon barrel aged. So you're talking about best of both worlds. You're talking about at least minimum 12 months of age. This was filled on Halloween, so, it has almost 6 months. Yeah, 6 months going for it. So it's at minimum a year and 6 months old if you count the actual base barley wine in that year of aging. That bourbon barrel aging will actually accelerate the age a bit, so you're kind of getting that best of both worlds. You're getting a little bit of that spirit barrel, adding a bit of character, hopefully a little bit of vanilla, hopefully a little bit of coconut, those kind of things, but it's actually aging the barley wine as you go. So what I'm getting in here is rich kind of pruniness. That pruniness would eventually evolve into a raisin and hopefully a raisinettiness, which is like my favorite kind of nose in any barley wine. And it has this rich caramel to it, a little bit of deep figgy thing going on. The bourbon actually doesn't come off too hot or too present in this. I think it's just the actual, it's blending with the barley wine quite nicely, which I think is a testament to the aging of the beer. I think a lot of people age beers, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. I think you really need to go minimum 1 year. I think it shows here. So there's a blurred line between where the barley wine ends. It's 15.9%. Barley wine ends and the actual spirit begins, and that's kind of a beautiful thing. So the soft, red, rich cherry notes, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of coconut on top of all that kind of pruning, kind of date figgy thing going on. Smells quite nice. Smells a little bit hot. You're talking about a relatively fresh 16% barley wine that was canned 6 months ago. It's going to be a little bit hot. Can't knock it for that. Let's dive in. Cheers. Yeah. I mean, it's a mimic, an exact duplicate of everything I said that was in the nose is actually there in the taste. The outliers, the things that you won't get on the nose. Really nice mouthfeel, soft creaminess, sultry, like satin, like kind of mouthfeel to it. It's not thick, it's not thin, it's just creamy. That kind of pruniness stays the course, but that kind of caramel figginess kind of rises up a little bit. And that kind of, I guess, kind of bridges the gap. It was a little bit too kind of pruny for me in the nose, but with that kind of raising of that caramel and that figginess, it kind of doesn't make the stepping that much bigger. You do get a soft bourbon note from it. You do get a soft cherry note, but like I said, it marries so well with the beer itself. It's kind of hard to find the line of delineation. It's very blurred. Vanilla, coconut, absolutely kind of even elevated beyond what the nose actually gave you. Really, like I said, really nice mouthfeel. A nice soft dryness to it too. That's probably a combination, I believe, a little bit of hopping because there is an herbal hoppiness in there, but mostly coming from those oak tannins. It's fucking delicious. It just, honestly, in a perfect world, it needs a little bit of time. And I know that's kind of like a bullshit fucking answer to give when it comes to a lot of kind of new barley wines and stuff like that. But it's probably bullshit because a lot of new barley wines do need a little bit of time. And I wouldn't put this in like a long haul aging category. I mean, barrel aged beers, it looks like a core 4 barrel aged beer. Those can age quite a bit once you actually get quite a bit more components, moving parts. That's when a lot of these beers can go sideways when they're aging. But I usually don't reserve anything beyond bottle conditioned core 4 beers for long haul aging. I would love to see this at 2 years. Basically, that's what I'm saying. I think this peaks at 2 years. Maybe it gets better after that. Maybe it's on the downswing from that. But just from shooting from the hip, from what I love, which is my favorite style, which is English barley wine, old English barley wine, 2 years would be great on this. But it drinks quite nice, relatively fresh, six months out of the shoot. It's delicious. There's a reason why people said I was going to like this beer. They were not wrong. But yeah, it does have the things that I covet when it comes to barley wines. It tastes the part of a very, very old stock. It does taste the part of an old Thomas Hardy. Those are the markers. Those are the pedestals I hold my English barley wines up to. Give me a 10-year-old North Coast old stock. Give me a 10 to 15-year-old. Is it that long? God damn it, man. Time is crazy. Yeah, 10 to 15-year-old Thomas Hardy. That's it for me. And this is in that class. Now, let's skip ahead. Is it as good as the barrel-aged offerings from those guys? Because if we're going to go kind of hold it up to those tent poles that I hold near and dear to my heart, I mean, this is some of the, if you're getting this out of your bourbon, or I should say barrel-aged variants from North Coast, it's up there. It's no 09 North Coast Old Stock. I mean, that was like an aberration of glorious proportions, but it's up there. Very close to that, and probably better than some of their newer, like 13 and 15 and stuff like that. Probably a little bit better than that. The barrel age offerings from Thomas Hardy, the original one, and by original I mean the original of the new batches when the new company took over. I got a couple of the original barrel age variants from them, and I think the 2014 version, it was a cognac barrel. Definitely a little bit better than the Seca, but not by much. And some of the newer barrel age offerings from Thomas Hardy has left me a little bit wanting. So in the grand scheme of things, this is about as good as you're going to get in today's kind of old school English barley wine market now. There's a lot of English barley wines that are more explosive, more aggressive on the taste. Something that's a little bit more 2x4. Maybe it's just bursting at the seams with booziness or whatever spirit they're using, or coconut or whatever. This, to me, mimics closer a very old version of an old stock or a Hardy or even a JWE's, even though the yeast profile is quite unique on that one. That's what this mimics, is that aged portion of the show. And I think that's by far, in a way, one of the hardest things to make when it comes to beer in general, is age. It's one of the things that's just really, really hard to do. And they did it here in a relatively short period of time. I think that's pretty fucking awesome. So let's talk about it. Is it one of the better barley wines that I've had as of late? Bourbon barrel aged. We'll go there. Yes. It's probably Mount Rushmore status. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely delicious. And kind of exactly what I look for in an aged barley wine, minus the bourbon barrel aging. You just use that bourbon barrel aging to kind of accelerate that aging process because, like I said, there's a blurred line between where the beer and the spirit begins in a good way, not in a negative way. Value and availability, I have no idea. I know Steven picked up a 4-pack of these, but I think he was telling me they were going for around like $10 a can. I would have zero issue paying $10 a can for this. I think you said the 4-packs were quite a bit cheaper. But I mean, you're talking about Anthony, or not, what was it? Anthony? Was it Anthony? One of my viewers from Jersey. I forget who it is, and I'm sorry, because you're going to know who you are. I just can't name, slips me in a second. He actually went down to a place in Maryland, and I told him, go to this place, they'll probably have good beer, and they might have Hardee's. He went there, they have Hardee's, they had 05, 06 Hardee's, and he paid a super cheap price for Hardee's, and I think he said he was paying around like $12 to $15 a bottle of a 9-ounce Hardy. I think that's infinitely cheap for a 9-ounce Hardy, 05 and 08. So I have no problem paying for that for 9 ounces. I thought that was like crazy. Now, this might be close to that, but I'm getting 12 ounces at less than $10 if I buy it in a 4-pack format all day. All day with that stuff. And leave you with, where do you get it? I actually don't know. He picked it up, so it does see the light of day outside of Illinois. And leave you with, if you like what we like this beer, listen, I'm going to let you in on a secret. If you like old English barley wine, you'll like this. Who would have thunk it? I mean, in this review, have I mentioned that yet? Oh, yeah, I have. So, if you like old English barley wine, if you like barrel-aged beers, but don't like a super aggressive hot barrel, you'll like this. Because, I mean, this is just it's fucking delicious. There you go. Review in the books. Thank you very much, Steven. Very appreciative. This is my jam. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers, if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massive. Want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing, and hopefully, you guys enjoyed our review. Hopefully, enjoying a little barley wine right now. Hopefully, see you next time. Cheers.